Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is another episode in good old Detroit. Tonight in our scene, we'll be starring one Christian Cobras, a gentleman who is riding on the coattails of some success. But success comes with a price. Sometimes it has its own price that one must give to it in order to achieve it. And for Christian's sake, well, we're going to find out how much toll that success he's been riding on has taken from him. Let's go to him tonight and get his thoughts.
Christian, for the most part, he feels good about what he's done. For the most part. After all, considering the disadvantages that he has being a member of House Goratrix in a sect where he is pretty much generally looked at as a second-class citizen, he's aware of the limitations that are imposed upon members of his particular bloodline, in spite of their obvious usefulness. And for everything that he has done, he has, if nothing else, proved himself to be a loyal member of the Sabbat. But there's also some things that do kind of like taint this pride, I suppose you could call it. Him still being on his humanity, he's been asked by his archbishop, and has, through peer pressure, perhaps, or temptation, to commit acts which, most members of most people who are still in humanity or would carry anything resembling, humane. Sorry about that. Anything resembling humane principles, would consider to be absolutely aberrant. And in particular, his own contribution, his recent contribution, an improvised thermobaric bomb, which was used in a certain prison to destroy a Setite's, this faction of Setite's laboratory base of operations. And from what he's been told, cost the lives of more than 400 people, Cainite and mortal alike. He's got his own thoughts about that, and considering everything that has happened, considering what the Priscus had, asked to meet him, speak with him at some point, he's decided, it's a quiet day, he'll give the Priscus a call.
You hear an unfamiliar voice pick up. Sounds like a woman. Hello?
Hello? Could I speak to Priscus Antonius, please?
Oh, yeah, so 1 second. You hear a muffled voice, and you'll just hear her say, sir? Yeah. And then you hear the voice of the Priscus. Hello? Hello, who's speaking?
It is myself, my very reverence, Father Christian Cobras.
For the Cobras. I'm glad that you called. What can I do for you this evening?
I just thought I'd follow up on the request that you made of me not all that long ago. Would you be able to speak in person at some point? I do find that these, something like this probably requires something a little bit more personal than a phone call.
Of course. Do you need transportation?
Well, it depends where you want us to meet up, my very reverend sir.
I'll send my valet over to you, or somewhere where you're comfortable to meet them, and they will retrieve you to come to my abode, if you don't mind.
Oh, certainly. Could you perhaps direct them to this car park that's quite close to Wayne State University, I think it's called? It's not all that far. It's like 1 or 2 blocks away from it. You know, it's a big eyesore, but you know, I'll, I'll go there in about half an hour if that's perfectly fine.
Very well. You will be looking for a woman. Her name will be Melinda. Uh,
Melinda. Okay.
yes. You should recognize her right away. It may be the only limousine you see in the area at the time. So uh, you'll hear him kind of like say something. It's a little undistinguishable, but you can make out maybe it's just directions he's handing her. Okay, very well. She will see you in half an hour.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'll see you soon.
Good night. And he'll hang up.
And yes, Christian will go out to the place in about half an hour and, you know, wait around for this Melinda lady to show up in the limousine.
And you're standing right across from Wayne State University, right? Or
No, it's about 2 blocks away from Wayne State University. It's basically like one of those like multi-story car parks.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically one of them, but you know, it's located a few blocks away.
Okay. Well, as you're waiting, you'll also you'll see some of the professors that you've been engaging with. Looks like they share the same car park. You could. They look busy and in their own world. You could approach them. You could leave them be, or just take notice of what they're doing.
Yeah, well, if he's got time, he'll like absently like take a look over them. If not, you know.
Yeah. These guys are from the tech department, and they're carrying what looks like a box of donuts and coffee. You're gonna guess that they're preparing for a late night grind.
Hmm. Huh. Don't really have anything else I can really do at the moment, and I did say that I was going to be waiting for that person. So yeah, that's probably something we're going to have to follow up at another time, though.
All right, no problem. All right, so I mean, they're just carrying, like I said, the coffee, donuts, and their own personal effects like satchels and book bags, you know. But yeah, they'll leave. Um, and I'll also give you the you make out what model cars they have, their license plates, and that much you can easily just get just from looking.
Mhm.
But they'll disappear, you know, going towards the campus. In a timely fashion, a black limousine will pull up. It completely parks, and you see a woman. She looks dressed very professionally. You know, she's just not taking. She looks like she is a chauffeur, not like she's just someone taking a limousine for a spin. And she is kind of scanning the area. She looks like she's kind of trying to distinguish a face. Common sense may dictate that the Priscus may not have given her a description of you physically.
Well, Christian, upon seeing this, mention, well, it's probably around the same time that they're supposed to be showing up anyway, and it's the only limousine that he's going to be seeing in this part of town. So Christian like goes up to this car, and she'll probably recognize him by his very distinct Afrikaans accent anyway. Hello? Are you from my very reverend sir?
You must be Mr. Cobras, correct?
Yes, that you are correct. You must be Melinda.
Well, please, let me show you the way. She'll open the door for you.
And naturally, he'll get in. You know, probably place his hand on top too as he comes inside, as he goes inside, because you know he's quite a bulky lad. You know, Mr. Cobras.
She'll close the door for you, and hear the car start up. You see that the divider between the passenger and the driver's side lowers down as she looks to her back and pulls the car out. She's guys drive along. She may ask you at some point. She's not trying to make chit chat conversation during most of the ride, but she'll just ask if you care to listen to a particular station on the radio.
I'm not particularly all that bothered, but you know.
Are you about to say something else?
Oh no, sorry, I'm just doing more than one thing at the time.
Sorry.
Yeah, he's just gonna say,
All right. The drive takes maybe like 15 minutes. You may notice that this woman really does kind of know the layout. She seems to be able to pick every green light. You guys are just, speeding through. Not really dangerously speeding or illegally speeding, but she makes good time. Where you arrive, it's kind of like a high-rise apartment building. It's a little bit on the more developed side of Detroit. It may strike you funny that such a place is where the Priscus is taking up residence. Yeah, maybe it strikes Christian that he wouldn't imagine that the Priscus would take up residence in like an apartment block or any sort, but there is a parking garage underneath the building. You guys will arrive in there. She'll park the car and she'll open the door for you. She'll tell you, please this way, we'll be going into an elevator. I hope you're not bothered by that.
Why would I be bothered?
She looks kind of blankly at you, kind of like she's caught herself in a faux pas. Well, the Priscus, as you call him, he's kind of bothered by elevators, so I'm not sure if that's a thing, if you understand.
Would common sense tell me why, or do I need to do a subterfuge roll?
No, you could figure out that maybe it's just because the Priscus is old enough that he's lived way before the technology.
Well, it's kind of like let's just say that we're of two different generations. I'm more used to elevators than he is.
She'll nod, and I see. Okay, well, then right this way. Yeah. You see her take out a key. She puts it in this lock, turns it, and the light goes on at the button, and she presses it, and the elevator will open up with a bing. She'll gesture you inside, and yeah, you'll be taking an elevator ride up to the top floor. And when you arrive there, the elevator doors open up, and there's only like two doors on one side, on each side of the corridor. Look to your left, look to your right. You can make out some security cameras. They're not trying to be hidden in plain sight. It's well lit. And she leads you to the door on the left. She'll take out her keys again and open up. She'll announce you and herself once the doors open. Excuse me, sir. We've returned. Mr. Cobra's with us. As she's looking around, trying to find him. You'll hear Priscus reply. Thank you. Just direct them into the living room. And she'll just show you where it is. She'll take you to the edge of it. The living room itself opens up into very nice, posh kind of setting. Looks very postmodern, you know. Big flat screen TV, a kind of a crescent shaped, not a leather couch, more like pleather. And see the priest is kind of just leaning back, watching the television with his arm over the chair. He'll regard you as he kind of senses you coming up near him. Oh, good evening, Father Cobras. Sit down, sit down. Are you hungry?
And Christian, as he walks in, he'll give a as reverent a bow to the Priscus as one would expect. You probably find it a little bit, mentally he'll think, yes, an elder vampire watching television. Not something you see every night, sorry. Yes, he'll just kind of like take the seat that's offered to him. Fine, thank you, but actually, on second thoughts, maybe I will have a bit of a drink, if you have anything to offer.
Melinda, please go into the fridge and bring us something to eat. Do you have any preferences?
Not as such, Your Grace. I am. Well, I suppose I probably shouldn't speak ill of the Crusaders. They are our brothers in Cain, after all. But no, I'm not like any of those Camarilla fops.
That is good. Melinda, please bring us that college student you had. Jason, will you give me just 2 seconds? I gotta just run really quick.
Okay, perfectly fine. And so we've going to have to wait a little while, and
Oh, so sorry about that, Jason. Okay, where did I leave off? Yes, you were. The Priscus said to Melinda that I'll bring this college student. She'll just bow and nod politely. Priscus will look back at you. That's my chauffeur there. She does very good at her job, especially for a mortal. I gave her the blood. She seems to aspire to be one of us one night.
Wow. Don't all of these lovely little ghoulish things do sometimes?
Not always. Some of them do see us simply as monsters. They cannot see past their own veneration as God's crowning achievement. Well, not my Melinda. She has seen the worst side of humanity. She has forsaken it as anyone with an opportunity to be more should do.
Well, as is her choice. Choice that very few of us, I find, ever get. So, lucky her.
You'll see Melinda come back, and she's not bringing a body of a student, but you just see that there's two IV bags on a silver tray, and I don't want to make it comedical, but something akin to a sippy straw. I don't know how else to go about it.
It's the only way that you can get these things out, in all honesty. And Christian will naturally, thank her for it when she presents it to him, and probably take his and maybe have like a little sip out of it, and just wait until they depart, because it's K-Night talk.
Right, of course. Yeah, no, she'll just set the tray down on a table, and yeah, you can it's within reach of you, and she'll just back away. She disappears into the apartment.
Anyway, you wanted to speak with me, my better reverend sir.
Well, yes. So I heard from the Archbishop that your mission was successful.
Yes, it was an experience, but the mission went off as well as it would have. Though I do think that the Archbishop's concerns were validated from what we saw there.
And what did you see?
A lot of bodies. Cainites being shovel-headed and just monsters, basically, being created like shovel-heads, and being experimented on. There were hundreds of them there. Almost felt as if we were doing them a favour.
And perhaps we have. The blood of Cain is not to be bastardized.
No.
That is not to say anything of our pander cousins, of course, but you catch my drift.
Yes, I understand completely. Regardless of whichever bloodline one comes from, you do with the gift as you do with the gift. Sometimes Cain chooses those who we would spit upon to become chosen members of his brood. They're all. I doubt there are many shovelheads who have survived their first night and have been granted the luxury of a embrace and being named as Trusabot for their valor. And far be it for a simple father, especially one in my position, to say otherwise to what our dark father chooses as his children. They're all. But yes, I don't believe that is the sole reason that you wish to speak with me, if I may be so presumptuous.
That's perfectly fine. Shows you have a very keen insight to people's motivations. Prior to the execution of your mission, we did have another conversation. So this is simply a checkup. So many debts can be accorded to your hand, and I would personally say that is a very successful mark to have on your own record. But how are you handling this?
And Christian actually, probably puts his little blood bag thing on the side, making sure the little straw thing doesn't like leak it out or anything. He kind of like sits forward. Nearly 500 people died as a result of that improvised thermobaric explosion that I created. That's about maybe the first hour or the first 2 hours of the Rwanda genocide. You probably heard this. It was between, well, it's like this. Rwanda had two main ethnic groups. It dates back to the colonial period, when the Dutch and the Germans, and basically one of the European powers, they basically they wanted a way to control the population. They did this by selecting the main tribes and designating which ones were. How can I describe this? The ones which are supposed to be working in the fields and ones which were supposed to be working in the houses. I do believe that there was something similar to that in this country during, the period where there were slaves and everything like that. But that's neither here nor there. Point is, it's really hard to put it all into perspective. I mean, it's not like I went out there and killed them one by one. It was very efficient, very, very precise.
Merciful.
Think about it. Suppose you could say that, yes, considering everything in there. Then there's all the collateral damage as well. I'm not saying that the idea of destroying a prison, which is pretty much hell on earth, is against my better principles. It's not. I mean, far be it from me to kiss and tell, as it were. There are probably a lot worse prisons out there in the world somewhere. And there's probably a lot of people who, in this country, mortals, who probably think that, the explosion in a prison and all those inmates being blown up, charred, having their limbs broken, crushed underneath falling debris is probably a good thing. We probably did society a favour with that, but all the same. That's the thing about a bomb, There's no way to fight back against it. There's no way to return fire. No one to get your hands on, as it were.
Such matters are difficult, yes, but necessary for one in a position like yourself to challenge themselves with. Let me ask you this question, Christian. If I may just call you Christian, and we can do without pleasantries.
Fair enough. Do you want me to call you Antonio, or?
You can just call me Anthony. That is fine.
Okay, Anthony is fine.
What is your main concern looking forward now that you are capable of such a thing? That here you are, sitting with me, we're having a conversation, we are watching television, you are there, drinking, filling yourself with the nourishment of the blood. And you have just killed, as you say, up to 500 people. What is your concern about them, or those who are now dead?
To be honest, Your Grace, sorry, Anthony, I'm not entirely certain. Maybe I probably would have liked to have taken one or two of them aside and cracked their skulls in, personally, just to prove that I'm not a coward that hides behind the little tricks and traps that I am more than capable of creating at a moment's notice.
Hmm.
But I think perhaps it's something in those shadow maxims that is ringing through here. Why expose yourself? Why play with an open hand? And why would you not use your strongest instrument, your strongest weapon, when the opportunity presents it? We had the opportunity to crush our enemies, and we did. Did more than crush them, as a matter of fact. We eviscerated them.
You see that the Priscus has a smile on his face, and he's nodding as you speak. Let me put it to you like this. If I am off the mark, you can tell me I am wrong. You are more so a creature of, what is the word, construction, creating, architect. You're like an architect in a sense, yes?
Suppose so, yes. I mean, I have my own designs, I have my own aspirations, I have my own desires to, test myself, learn new things.
You are more inclined to see potential where it is, and you wish to see it flourish, you wish to see it grow. You're not the kind that wallows in bones and filth and decay, are you?
No. I'd rather like, if there's one thing which I do, as reluctant as I am to say about this, there's one thing about humanity that I do admire about them. It's their tenacity and their creativity. I like going to universities. I like going to libraries. I like seeing things being made, being created, being sold, as it were. Like, I found this thing about vulcanized rubber recently that's attracted my attention. I mean, it's probably of no interest to you, but it is to me.
Rubber, that's something they use for tires, yes?
Yes. The vulcanization process, it basically makes it easier to create, and it gives it more varied use. They also do it with plastics as well, but that's a completely different process. But anyway, I won't bore you with the details. I am, amongst other things, a bit of an intellectual. If a mind is like a sword in a lot of ways. You do occasionally need to find the proper whetstone with which to sharpen it. In my case, it is those libraries, those books, those universities, those places of knowing, those places of learning, those places of discovery. You need to go outside of your comfort zone in order to learn new things, which I find in the Shadow Maxims is somewhat essential. Of course, there is the decrees, the maxims of gaining strength in one's own knowledges as well.
I wish to, if you would let me, impart on you an understanding of, well, why we call this path power and inner voice. Long time ago, it just used to be known as the Road of Kings. Let me impart upon you the understanding of the inner voice. And you speak of power all the time, and yes, power comes in many forms. But what remains unseen, that is the, how you say, eternal engine of the gears and the motions of the universe. It is permeates everything, everywhere. You can kind of see, perhaps, I think you're smart enough, how my nature as a Lasombra colors the wording I use. It's almost like the abyss.
Hmm.
But this inner voice, it is both you and everything simultaneously. It is both the blood of Cain and you, but the inner voice. Think of it like this: Cain was who he was before what some may call the curse, the damnation, or in other circles, the blessings God placed upon the Dark Father. But Cain would never have received those things. And that power of his own inner voice not spoken. Do you understand?
I think so. You're basically telling me that his own inner voice was his desires, as it were. His desire for a wife, his desire for children, his desire for knowing, for learning, for wisdom, because he knew of the curses, as you said in some circles, that God put upon him.
Hmm. I mean, look at what he did with it. If it was a curse, he still went on to become a king of his own nations. He had his children. What he took from Abel, he used and sowed a seed that created life. He was a farmer. He knew in his heart that he just simply could not go without seeing the flowers grow. He was a man that used death in order to create life.
Hmm.
This inner voice, it is life itself. It is, how do I say this? We speak of death so much, some do, within the culture of the Sabbat, almost creating the idea of life as an antithesis. But it's not. We are not in the ground. We are not unanimated.
We are like our Dark Father in many ways. It's our choice whether our inner voice tells us to, that is. To employ our tools the way that our Dark Father did in his breathing his mortal days before he sacrificed his brother Abel. He will till the soil. We will till the soil, as it were. We will plant the seeds. We will watch the seeds grow. Then we will break the stalks and reap the fruit of our harvest.
You
If
see
I
the
am understanding you correctly.
you see that the Priscus is smiling as he understands reference. Good, good. I'm glad. Your transition, your understanding, what it needs is conviction, a conviction in the words of your own inner voice.
Perhaps I need a focus for this conviction. A means for my own inner voice. to speak to me, as it were.
Yes. Uh, do you practice any sort of meditation?
Not as such, no. I suppose you could call my work a kind of meditation.
Sometimes I like to reflect in the shadows, somewhere dark, deep. I do sometimes like to be underground, but he's kind of in reference to the apartment, it being up so high.
I think I can understand where you're coming from. Though I do believe I will have to employ my own. I will have to observe my own surroundings in my own haven and make adjustments as I see fit. There's one thing which the Shadow Maxims have told me. It's an individual path that one follows. There's certain credos, there's certain mantras, there's certain maxims that we all follow. At the end of the day, it's how we apply them to our own lives.
Going forward, you should trust in yourself. I cannot be the one to determine what kind of fruit you will reap. I cannot determine for you what type of seeds you should sow. That is only for you. Let your inner voice speak and listen to it. At times, you may find it troubling, even with setbacks. We all go through those setbacks. Anyone who tells you that they haven't is a lying bastard. You see, like, I don't know, you see a smirk on the Priscus face.
Nothing ever easy is worth accomplishing. That's something that my father used to tell me. Well, he used different words, but I agreed with him.
But may I suggest a way to start, a way to take the very next step. Put forth an immediate plan, immediate goal, and take it, regardless of what other consequences may happen. I understand that I may say that I am rushing you into something, but the ability to recognize how you can extend that inner voice into your hand, to make it happen and take it, that may be the change you need.
I think I shall start to follow the one of the Shadow Maxims' primary. Well, one of their edicts is that one should master the arts of Cain to their fullest degree possible. One's own natural ones before one starts to expand into other areas, though one should always take advantages whenever one sees ones. I have all but mastered my own discipline of the thaumaturgical arts, and I've also expanded into other areas thanks to my sire. And well, if nothing else, and I'm sure you will agree with me on this, both of our clans share an affinity for controlling the minds of mortals. The discipline of dominate. It's not a discipline that I've initially thought of being quite useful, but now that I'm starting to take my first steps upon this path, I do believe it is a discipline that I will take a lot more interest and study into.
It has its uses. It is a very refined display of power itself.
I do believe that my sire used to refer to the dominate discipline as being the sledgehammer that one uses when one's own words were not sufficient enough.
Yes, very much like a hammer indeed. There are displays of power I've felt myself before, where one's will could be nearly shattered. It does come with some degree of proximity towards the Father, if you understand, in our generations.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt the power of such a weapon. Just as God spoke the word, one too could speak a word and make what they wish happen. At least in the word, in the minds of other people. So tell me, Christian, how are you and your coven mates getting along these evenings?
Oh, we've had a wonderful time. We found a new friend, a member of your clan, as a matter of fact. You remember him, don't you? Who's the one who won the game of instinct that myself and my brother Ink won.
Yes, Mr. Eckers. I had a evening out with Mr. Eckers just the other day.
Oh.
I'm glad to see that you have taken up care for him as a member of your congregation.
It's the least we could do, after all. His sire proved to be a little bit less than competent with regards to his education. Besides, I do think Mr. Ink feels a little bit lonely being the only Lysandra in our little group. As I occasionally do, knowing that I'm the only member of my house in Detroit, but well, aside from my sire, of course.
Oh, Mr. Cobras. I'm sorry, Christian. Even I have trouble doing away with formalities. I'm one of those Canaanites that do believe that perhaps by now it is time to give it a clean slate for those of your house. This, of course, is not something I can make a proclamation, but Sabbat is in need of all the power it can get in all its many different forms. You are very one of a few of your kind left. And I wasn't there. I've only heard these stories passed down from my sire and his about the one they called Salat. Do you know of this story?
Briefly, I know generally speaking that my bloodline comes from a clan of diablerists, usurpers, blood magicians. We has Tremere, as it once were a group of mortal mages who did some very untoward things with a member of the Shemasi, which then turned them into vampires, and there was a great deal of unpleasantness, which the Shemasi have never forgiven the Tremere for, and actually is why they're mortal enemies even to this day. Immortal enemies, even. And when certain members of Hestonmere decided that it, the other side of the grass seemed a little greener on the other side of the fence, well, they let us come into the fold reluctantly, and quite a lot of the Shemasi would rather see that we spellbinders, as they call us, that we would be swept under the rug somewhere. Considering the reputation of my house, well, father clan, as it were, perhaps I should not blame them. But it does give me a little bit of an irritant every now and then.
You see the Priscus make kind of a face. He bobs his head to the left and to the right. Think of the words that you had used to describe yourselves. Diablerist, usurper. And what was it? The sorcerer or something?
Blood sorcerers, yes.
Blood sorcerers, yes. Really think about that, Christian. How is that any different from the Sabbat? None.
Well, the Diablerist part, if we go by the accepted story, one of the higher uppers, probably the House Lord, Mr. Mr. Man upstairs, committed the act of diablerie upon an antediluvian, allegedly.
Allegedly. And allegedly, the Shamisi did the same. The La Sombra did the same.
Of course, but it was your own great-grandsire, of course. We, the House Termere, as it were, did not have the blessing, the direct bloodline of Cain to, designate themselves their proper clan, as it were. So, but of course, there is also the well, I suppose we could be here until the sun comes up about the differences with the certain disciplines that the thaumaturgical discipline and the Coldonic sorcery of the Shamasi and all the other little wonderful blood magics that are out there that so many of us in the sort of Cain do practice. But I think it may just be a stigma that is placed upon those who carry my particular bloodline's blood, I suppose, that makes us what we are, and the Shamasi will always, be the have a larger say in how things went. I wasn't alive back then.
You see the Priscus nod. The Shamisi, they do know how to hold a grudge, yes. There is nothing I can say about that. My apologies to you. However, I'm hoping I can give you a moment of revelation, a moment to truly, yes, as they call it, an epiphany. But anyhow, if Salat did not have the capability, power to hold on to his blessing, then it was only fated that it would be taken away. Abel did not have the power to stop Cain. Esau, not with Jacob. Even Joseph was betrayed by his brothers. By the maxims of our path, Salat did not have right to it, for he did not keep it.
suppose so. In fact, I know so. I have to thank you, Anthony. You've given me a lot to think about. I think I've got a new focus these nights.
If you need some assistance in helping establish your own house, which I could think as a proven and loyal member of the Sabbat would only flourish and better the Sabbat as a whole, you let me know.
Thank you. And Christian will probably like get his little blood bag and like drink a fast full of it. 'Cause, it's going to be a very long night. If you'll allow me, I think it's probably best that I get back to my studies and think long and hard about how I'm going to put these maxims, these credos, these practices into practical use. I may have something, I may not. Either way. Could I speak with you a week from now?
Yes, of course. Should providing nothing takes me away from the city.
Thank you very much. And Christian like stands up and gives the Priscus another bow. I will show myself out. Thank you again for allowing me to speak with you.
He'll nod. Actually, get up and show you out himself. We'll open the door for you. You stay strong. You let me know when you're ready to take the leap of faith in yourself.
And Christian like nods and smiles to the Priscus before he exits out of the apartment. And I think we can call that scene as Christian starts to make his way back to his haven.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. This was another episode in Detroit. Stay tuned and tune in again. Good night.